By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back in Leeuwarden, the Netherlands, for the third episode of the Uthden Troll Cup VI, the biggest tournament in Europe and one of the biggest tournaments in the world of Magic the Gathering 93-94. And in this third episode, we've got two legends of Swedish old school playing against each other. We've got Gordon versus Sepp. And I mean, it's so cool to have you guys here on the channel. I think this is the first time that I have you both here together and also playing against each other. That is just great. Gordon is playing with a Field of Dreams Millstone deck. So it's kind of a combo deck. It's pretty interesting because you don't see combo strategies that much anymore in old school, so I'm really looking forward to see that deck in action. He's taking on Sepp, and Sepp is playing a more general deck that you see more often, but he's made some interesting choices. He's playing white, blue, and a little bit of red for burn, and 4 Suchis, copy artifacts, stuff like that. But again, more about that in the deck section of the video. And before I start with the deck, I would first like to point out that, as always, you can also choose to go to the games first, check out the deck text later. The easiest way to do this is by checking the description of the video below, and there you will find several timestamps. One of those timestamps reads MTG Games. So if you click on there, MTG Games, it'll take you straight to the game itself. And in that same description below, you can also find a link to the Timmy Talks Patreon page, and that is patreon.com/TimmyTalks. So if you're enjoying the content that I make, please consider supporting the channel financially as well. Check out patreon.com/Timmy Talks. Okay, and now that you're fully informed, I'm going to start with the deck. I'm going to start with the player on the left. That is Gordon. Let's take a look at his deck. And here we see the deck of Gordon. So this is Mill of Dreams, and that refers to the two cards, Field of Dreams and Millstone. So maybe those two cards are a good starting point for this deck. So Field of Dreams, I love the art, by the way. Field of Dreams is a world enchantment for 1 blue that reads, players play with the top card of their libraries revealed. So you just show the top card of your library. You know what your opponent is going to draw, but your opponent knows, of course, what you're going to draw as well, because you're both showing the top card of your library. Then you combine this with Millstone. Millstone is an artifact for 2 from Antiquities that reads, 2 untap, target player mills 2 cards. So what you can do when you've got Field of Dreams and Millstone on the board is kind of choose what you want your opponent to draw, and especially not to draw. So you can kind of manipulate the top of his library, and that's kind of the lock that you want to create, especially if you've got multiple Millstones. It gets even better. And then, this could take some time to set up, right? So what do you do so that you don't die before you kind of have this whole control story set up? That's where I think the Drop of Honey comes in, and the Mazes of If. So he's playing 4 Mazes of If and also 4 Drops of Honey. So Drops of Honey is an enchantment from Arabian Nights that reads, at the beginning of your upkeep, destroy the creature with the least power. It can be regenerated. If 2 or more creatures are tied for least power, you choose one of them. When there are no creatures on the battlefield, you sacrifice a Drop of Honey. So what's important to note here is that Gordon is playing creatureless, so he will never have to sack anything to the Drop of Honey. So Drop of Honey in this deck is really just defensive to kill the creatures of the opponent. And then he's also playing, like I said, with 4 Maze of If and with 2 Candelabras of Tanis that he can use to then untap the Maze of If. So if he has a Candelabra of Tanis on the battlefield and a Maze of If, he can activate his Maze of If twice, right? So that's kind of, the core of the deck. And the way he wants to win mainly is, I think, by milling his opponent, but he can also simply win, by just attacking with his Mishra's Factories. He's playing with 4 Mishra's Factories, and his deck is so controlling that I wouldn't be surprised if he wins more games with the Mishra's Factories than that he wins games by milling the opponent. And I mean, this deck has been doing really, really well here at UTC, which is quite an accomplishment because the average level of decks and players is quite high at this tournament. So it's really interesting to see a deck like this doing so well, and I'm really interested to see in this match if he's going to win through milling the deck of his opponent, or if he's going to win through, good old-fashioned combat damage with the Mishra's Factories. I think both are very, very plausible. When I'm looking at this list and how defensive it is, I think there's actually a bigger chance that he eventually wins through the Mishra's Factories attacks, especially in combination with the Drop of Honey that I just discussed, because in a lot of cases, your opponent will not have a single creature on the battlefield, and that means you can just attack for free with your factory. Another really nice side note I want to make is about the sideboard, where we see a playset of Evil Eye of Orms by Gore. I think that's really cool. So I actually hope to see that coming into the game as well. I don't think that in this matchup that would be a very good decision, but still, I love that card, and it would be really great to see it here at the Uthden Troll Cup. Talking about the sideboard and what you want to sideboard in against your opponent, let's take a look at the deck of his opponent. Let's go to the deck of Seb. And here we see the blue, white, and red deck of Seb. And when we're looking at this list, it's quite interesting, right? Because a lot of players choose to go with white, blue kind of as their starting colors because it gives you access to, of course, the Swords to Plowshares, the Disenchants, the counter spells. But lately, Copy Artifact and Disenchant have actually been the main reason for people to play with white and blue. And the reason for that is that Disenchant simply can, it's one of the best removal cards in the game. It's instant speed, and you can destroy an enchantment and an artifact. So you have that choice. Well, I'm saying and, but or, of course, I mean. So an enchantment or an artifact. But you've got that choice. That makes Disenchant so incredibly strong. And then Copy Artifact is really a card that in Swedish is incredible. In every format it's incredible, but also in Swedish, 1 blue and 1 for an enchantment that allows you to, well, you guessed it, copy an artifact on the battlefield. And in a format without mana burn, you see a lot of Suchis, so you can start copying your Suchis. A lot of players also enjoy using them besides their Triskelion. But of course, Triskelion is a 6 casting cost creature, so that's kind of high in the casting. So what you see now more and more is people saying, I'm not going to play with the Trike, but I've already kind of auto-include my Suchi. So why not just play with Copy Artifacts? I can copy a Suchi, and if there's no Suchi, I can copy some of my Moxen to kind of ramp up early game. My opponent is probably also playing with a lot of artifacts, so I can start copying his stuff. And then, of course, you can use Copy Artifact as well on your Mishra's Factories, which is also a really nice thing to do. You animate your factory, then you play your copy, and you copy your factory. And the nice thing to note is that your copy of the Mishra's Factory comes in as a land, so you can immediately use it to pump that Mishra's Factory that you've just animated. So it's really kind of a broken play. It is, of course, risky because when you animate your factory and then you play your copy, if your opponent then has, for example, a Disenchant, they can destroy your Mishra's Factory, and then you need to copy something else. But even then, there's usually always kind of a useful thing to copy on the board anyway. So Copy Artifact and Disenchant are kind of becoming the main reason for people to play white and blue. I think the white and blue color combination is the most popular color combination in old school Magic. And then, of course, white and blue, what it kind of misses, I guess, although you've got Psionic Blast, but what it kind of misses is that direct damage. So here you can see Seb adding the red to it, right? 4 lightning bolts, a firebolt. These are really the cards that can kind of finish a match for you when you're kind of, stuck in the battle with your opponent. So yeah, just a strong list. I'm not surprised that the deck is doing quite well here at UTC. Then when we're looking at the sideboard, we see Sages of Latnam in the sideboard. We're seeing that more often these days, where I think in the past, if you would play with so many artifacts, people would mainboard the Sages. It has now become kind of more of a sideboard card for a lot of players. I think Sage of Latnam is still really, really good. The problem, of course, is, and I think I told this in the previous episode as well, is that the secret of Sage of Latnam has kind of been uncovered. People know now how good the card is, so it's usually removed on site. Anyway, this is the deck of Seb. We've looked at the deck of Gordon, so that means we are ready to go to the match. Let's go. Seb versus Gordon. This is a Swedish battle here in Leeuwarden, the Netherlands. Game number 1, here we go. We've got Gordon sitting on the left there. We can see his hand. And here we've got Seb sitting on the right. So let's have a look. Felverstone there, a Mox, a land. That Suchi that maybe he can deploy early on. So if he has a turn 1 Felverstone and then finds another land, he can have a turn 2 Suchi. But look at this. Both players taking a mulligan though. So both players not happy here with what they were drawing. Shuffling up. So Gordon, the player on the left, is playing Mill of Dreams. So a deck built around the combination of Field of Dreams and Millstone. And Seb is playing with 3 colors, white, blue, and red. Kind of has a mid-range build with a lot of usual suspects. The power and, of course, the copy artifacts and the playset of Suchis. And then he's added the red just for some burn. 4 lightning bolts, a fireball, and a Wheel of Fortune. But like I said, both players deciding here to take a mulligan. And the way it works here, we're playing according to the London mulligan rule. Meaning if you've taken a mulligan, you draw 7 cards again. If you choose to keep, then you have to put one of those 7 cards on the bottom of your library. Yeah, let's see if both players decide to keep this time around. 7 here for Gordon. And 7 here for Seb. And these are two players that are both from Sweden. It's a very international crowd here at the Uthden Troll Cup. Over 200 players playing today. And it looks like Sepp is going to keep. Showing his hand here, so wants to put away that swords to plowshares. Only has one land again, though. And here we see Maze of If. We see some lands there on the right. We see Counterspell, Recall. Probably going to put the Recall on the bottom, right? Exactly. It's a card you'd like to draw like some later in the game. He also has, I believe, a Sylvan there. Sylvan Library. That could be quite useful at turn 2. Tropical Island here and go for Gordon. So we have begun here. Game number 1. There's a Mox Jet and a Factory tapping it for a Felwar. So lots of mana for Sap here. But remember, only had one land in hand. So needs to find another land from the top. And then perhaps a Suchi. Turn 2 Suchi would be quite good. And here we see that Sylvan being cast by Gordon and passing the turn. So let's see if Sap has found that land. He does. That's a City of Brass, tapping the city for damage. Gonna go for a Time Walk here. Gonna animate and attack for 2. So Gordon dropping to 18. There's another Mox here. Oh, Mind Twist. That is such a killer. That is such a killer. The entire hand here gone of Gordon. Yeah, losing the Counterspell. Losing the Drop of Honey as well. Drop of Honey, of course, a great card. Not great against the Mishra's Factories, though. At least Gordon has that single Sylvan to kind of maybe, you know, draw extra cards, get him back into it. But it's going to be rough. Remember, each extra card drawn with the Sylvan is going to cost him 8 life. Look at this, dropping to 10. Being quite aggressive here, drawing the extra cards. But probably kind of forced to do that. Okay, here we see a Field of Dreams. So the first part of the combo has been activated. There's a Disenchant here at the top for Sep. And a Lightning Bolt. So yeah, could decide here to Disenchant the Sylvan, for example. First he's going to attack. He's going to put Gordon on 8. And I think that Sep has 2 more cards in hand, so I wonder what he can do with that. And of course a Disenchant, which both players know about, so that's why it's there on the playmat. So he is going to Disenchant here. It's going to take a damage from his own city. Disenchanting the Sylvan, yeah, that seems to make sense. I mean, you want to keep Gordon just really, really small here. You've almost won the game already, so... yeah, that's it. Gordon picking up the cards is like another land. I don't want this. Let's just shuffle up and play game number 2. So both players are going to dive into their sideboards, and we will catch back up with them in game number 2. Game number 2, here we go, and it looks like Sep has taken a mulligan here, and Gordon is keeping his first 7. So Gordon, of course, on the play after losing that first game. And let's see what Sep can do. Ooh, look at a double mulligan, it seems. And also Gordon has taken a mulligan. So Gordon on 6 cards at the moment. Sep now on 5 cards. Or is it even worse? Gonna look at his cards again. I mean, this is really tough. And here we see a leaflet for one of the many tournaments. It's great how many things are being organized. It's just awesome. More and more tournaments are being organized all over Europe. It's really a luxury. And here, Sep is putting 2 cards here on the bottom, so 5 cards left in hand. And there we can see the cards. And Gordon starting with the Tropical Island, so he started with 6. Starting here with the Tundra, are we also going to see that Mox Jet that he just shown us? Yes, we are. And there's the pass. There we see an Underground Sea. There's a Crumble in hand for Gordon. Chooses not to use it here on the Mox Jet. Probably wants to keep it for that other card there, the Mishra's Factory. Ooh, there's an Ancestral Recall. Of course, a really good card here found for Gordon. Also because he just started with 6 cards, of course, and Sep with 5. So that Ancestral kind of compensates for that. There's this City of Brass. Look at that Time Walk in hand, but also a counter spell. Could just choose to, keep counter mana open and pass. I mean, it looks like Gordon's in a really good position here. He is going to take the Time Walk. Okay. Going to take a point of damage from his own city, so he's now on 19. Draw another card there from the top. I mean, I would have been tempted, to be honest, not to use the Time Walk, just pass with Counter Magic open. And Gordon, not finding anything to do here, just passes the turn. Is there now an attack for 2 or not? No, he's going to cast something. There's a Chaos Orb. Probably going to see a counter spell here. No, we're not. And the reason we're not seeing a counter spell here is because you can, of course, use your Crumble in response to activation by Sep. Who is using the Crumble right now? So using Crumble on end step here. Oh, on the Mox Jet instead. Interesting. Gonna go for the Mox Jet. And it looks like Sep is still thinking if he wants to respond to this or not. He is, and he's now going to use his Chaos Orb. There's another Crumble. Okay, so he was kind of luring out the activation by going for the Jet here. Very interesting strategy by Gordon. And I guess he's got multiple Crumbles in hand. Well, maybe now he doesn't anymore. The two Crumbles gone. And yeah, I think Crumble is also such a good answer. Oh, there's a Strip Mine. Wow, this is looking really bad for Sep now. All of a sudden, look at that stripping the Tundra. And what I wanted to say is, to me, Crumble always seems like almost a perfect answer to an activated Mishra's Factory. But now, of course, Sep doesn't have the mana to even activate his one Lonely Factory. There we see a Regrowth, probably here on the Ancestral Recall. Exactly, Regrowth, Recall, draw another 3 cards. Could also go for the Strip Mine, of course, but decides to go here for Ancestral Recall. Yes, 7 cards in hand, lots of counter spells, and a Mind Twist there as well. Ooh. And look at that, just a pass here from Sep. I mean, it's looking really good for Gordon, but remember, Gordon's deck is slow. It's not very good at winning a game. It's good at controlling a game. But yeah, then you still have to win, of course. And I believe it's got 3 or even 4 counterspells in hand there, which is quite annoying for Gordon. Okay, there at least is the Field of Dreams. So again, a part of his combo, found, but now needs to find a Millstone. 3 Millstones in the deck in total. Passing the turn here to Sep. Sep finding that Plateau and another Volcanic at the top. So that's quite good here for Sep. And does he want to attack here for 2? I guess you just want to keep it at bay, right? You don't want to take the risk of losing your factory. Exactly. He's just passing the turn. There's a Maze there on top for Gordon. Gordon playing out the Mishra's Factory. Yeah, we could be in for a long game, actually. So there we see a Mind Twist here. Mind Twist for 3. So we saw in game 1 where Sep played the Mind Twist. Now we see Gordon playing the Mind Twist. And Gordon's Mind Twist is not as, destructive, because at least he gets to keep 2 cards in hand. But yeah, it's of course a big blow for Sep. Losing the Copy Artifact, a Disenchant, and a Mana Drain. Finding the Volcanic. And there's a Serra Angel on top there for Sep. 2 cards left in hand. Not quite sure what cards they are. It looked like one of the cards is a Suchi. He is going to animate attack for 2. Yeah, it's kind of a free attack now that Gordon stepped out. So Gordon dropping here to 14. There's another Mace on the top for Gordon and playing out the Mace that he just drew. So, yeah, like I said, we could be in for a long game here because it looks like Gordon is not really finding anything to put pressure on Sep's life total. And Sep is just not in a good place right now after that Mind Twist. So 2 cards or 3 cards in hand. Of course, one of those is the Serra Angel. There is a Maze of If, and there's a Mana Drain from the top, playing out the Mace. The thing is, he's got a Brain Geyser in hand. So, I mean, he would rather, at this point in the game, just draw lands instead of Mazes of If, because he can use that to fuel his Brain Geyser. Felverstone drawn here by Sepp with another factory on the top. So could go for Felverstone here. Gonna tap 2. Gonna cast Felverstone. And I think he does this also because he's got a disenchant in hand. I think he kind of wants Gordon here to swing in for 2. But Gordon probably knows this. And Gordon, of course, is now going to draw the mana drain. So could consider just attacking for 2, thinking if you've got the disenchant, I can mana drain it. So drawing here the mana drain. Showing the Bayou at the top. And again, Bayou is not that bad for Gordon because of that Brain Geyser in hand. Passing the turn here. There we see a Mind Twist. Yeah, the Mind Twist is tough. He can make black mana, by the way, because there's a City of Brass on the side of Gordon, and Sepp here has a Felverstone. There we see the Serra Angel, and Gordon saying, I don't have to counter it. I've got a double Maze of If. I'm fine. Ooh, there's a Drop of Honey as well, so that Drop of Honey can also take care of that Serra Angel later. And that's why Maze of If and Drop of Honey is such a good combination, right? Because of the Maze, your creatures are going to stay on the battlefield, but you've got them under control. And then as soon as you draw into your Drop of Honey, you can finish them off. There's a City of Brass here from the top for Sepp. I mean, the problem for Sepp here is he's staring down at that counterspell, right? And we know, of course, that Gordon has more counterspells in hand. He's got full control here. So 3 cards here for Sepp. And here you also get at that point in the game where you think, when should I concede? Because remember, this is a tournament, so you've only got 50 minutes in total to play. Of course, Sepp is already in front a game, so he could think, you know what? I'm just going to sit this out, maybe win it 1-0, because now Gordon has to, start doing something. He's very good at being defensive, and making sure that he doesn't take any damage and controls the board. That's good for him, but how does he want to win? And I think that's a bit of a problem at this point for Gordon. He's going to play the Drop of Honey here, so that means that next turn, Sepp is probably going to lose the Serra Angel. There's a Disenchant being fired off. And look at the discipline, right, for Gordon deciding not to counter this. He knows that the Angel's going nowhere anyway because of the double Maze. And of course, he's pretending that the mana drain is his only counterspell, but we know that his hand is chock full of counter magic. There's a Suchi at the top here for Sepp. One card left in hand that we don't know about. The other card, of course, is Mind Twist. There's the other Suchi. No counterspell again. So he's saying, you know what? I've got double Maze. I'm not worried at all. I'm probably going to draw into another Drop of Honey sooner or later. I mean, remember, he is playing with 4 drops of honey. Oh, there's another Drop of Honey. Okay, already had one in hand. Yeah, and this is the thing against decks like, the deck that Gordon is playing with. Gordon wants you to play out creatures. He's not worried about it at all. His deck is built to deal with creature threats. Passing the turn, not even playing out the Soul Ring. Here we see Sepp kind of looking at the Drop of Honey again. And I believe it's only in the upkeep of the controller of the Drop of Honey. So that would be meaning Gordon's upkeep. That Sepp will have to sack something. So let's see if he wants to do anything. I mean, he could consider, of course, attacking here with everything. Kind of this Alpha Strike, knowing that you've got those 2 mazes. But I mean, you're going to lose your creatures anyway. Look at his tapping 4. I think he's going to cast a Suchi here. Exactly, he's going to play a Suchi. But yeah, this is still kind of rough, right? He could animate the factory, but then Gordon can just block with his factory, pump it, kill the factory. You don't want that to happen. Could also attack, of course, with the Suchi and the Serra Angel, but then again, Gordon has 2 mazes of If, so yeah, it's really rough here. There's not really a good choice here to make, I think, for Sepp, to be honest. So we see a lot of talking now between the two players. Of course, they know each other very, very well. But I mean, you can talk all you want, but the game is just really, really locked right now. And I think at this point, we're just waiting for Gordon to kind of draw into that Millstone, right? And to start with the Millstone plan. So untap, upkeep. Then he's animating his factory. So his factory is going to die. Okay. Then it's a 2-2. And of course, Drop of Honey always looks at the creature with the lowest power. And if it's tied for power, the controller of Drop of Honey can choose. There's another Mishra's Factory hitting the board. So, I mean, next turn at least, Sepp has this, potential attack with 2 Suchis and a Sarah Angel. There's a Soul Ring being deployed. And there's the pass. Another factory on top. So yeah, I think if you're Sepp, you kind of have to. Exactly, attacking here, putting the big creatures into the red zone. Double Suchi and Sarah Angel going in for the attack. Sending back the Angel and one of the 2 Suchis. One Suchi attacking here. Is he going to double block? I mean, it's something. At least you take care of one Mishra's Factory of Gordon. Yeah, so it looks like he's going to double block. Could even consider blocking with just one, making it a 4-4 with the other factory. Bumping itself to a 3-3, then making it a 4-4. So here we see the trade. And I mean, at least it's something for Sepp, right? The problem, of course, now for Sepp is that he's got 2 creatures left. And, Gordon still has a double mace. And I just think that next turn, so we're here, that Sepp is again going to animate his factory, right? Because now the Drop of Honey is going to do its thing again. Yeah, that's what they're discussing right now. And look at that, Sepp actually not animating, saying, take one of my bigger creatures. This is not working anyway. So Sarah Angel's going to die here. And like I said, if they're tied for power, the controller of Drop of Honey can choose. There's just a pass here again by Gordon. There's another factory. There's a pass, so the Suchi is going to die as well. And that means that the Drop of Honey is going to die as well, because Drop of Honey goes out of the game as soon as there are no more creatures. And again, passing their turn here. Yeah, a handful of counterspells to make matters worse. Another counterspell for Sepp. So perhaps next turn, Sepp's going to try to play out that Mind Twist with counter backup. We know already that it's not going to work. Although, I'm saying that now, but look at the mana base of Gordon. He only has 3 blue. That is a problem for Gordon. He needs to find 4 blue if he wants to play a double counterspell to take care of that Mind Twist. Yeah, and Gordon again doing all sorts of things, but I think what he really needs is just another, blue source. Because Danny can play 2 counterspells out. He just doesn't have enough blue mana. He's going to play out the Crumble, take care of the Flower Stone. And that's, of course, already a sign that he kind of knows, okay, I'm in trouble. Okay, there's the Millstone. So if you would have had the Millstone already, you could have milled away that counterspell and you would still be safe. Looks like the Millstone's coming a little bit too late. But even if Sepp, twists the entire hand of Gordon, even then Gordon is still in a very good position. He's going to find that Millstone. But of course, Gordon doesn't want to get Mind Twisted. Also has, of course, that Brain Geyser still in hand. The thing is, Brain Geyser is also double blue. So if you Brain Geyser now to play out your Millstone to maybe, mill away the counterspell, you don't have any mana left anymore. Ooh, this is a good card here for Sepp, that Brain Geyser. So things are getting interesting right now. Sepp can cast the Mind Twist. Okay, and now I want to know for how much. We can't really see the mana, unfortunately, but he's going to cast the Mind Twist. I'm expecting to see here that counterspell. Or not. I mean, you want to force him to play out his counterspell, right? So we're going to see him playing out the counterspell. Then we see a counterspell on the counterspell. Yeah, this is really an important moment in the game. So, counterspell on the Mind Twist. And remember, Gordon doesn't have a second blue, only has a City of Brass to make blue mana. Look at this, he's allowing it to happen. He's allowing it to be countered away. This really surprises me. This really surprises me. He's not countering away the counterspell. Why is he doing this? I'm really surprised. Had the mana open. 3 counterspells and Brain Geyser in hand here. Yeah, this is great for Gordon. This was the one opening that Sepp kind of had, you know, countering away this mana drain. Instead going for the Millstone. We know what's going to happen next. We're going to see a counterspell here by Gordon. Exactly. I mean, yeah, we're going to see the counterspell. And that's pretty disastrous. Could even consider not to do it. Could say, you know what, I'm going to keep my counterspell to counter away the Brain Geyser. But, I mean, I think I would counter it. Especially now that you've shown the counterspell. Exactly. And then, of course, you're going to use your Millstone to mill away the Brain Geyser. And mill away another card here, which is a Fireball. And then he's going to find a Strip Mine from the top. There's the pass. Yeah, like I said, I really think Gordon had this opening here, or Sepp, sorry, had this opening here, but decided not to play out that counterspell. Yeah, it is what it is. Of course, here we see a Control Magic, not very relevant. There's a Tropical Island. So now it's interesting, right? If you're Gordon, do you want to allow Sepp here to draw into his Triskelion? You've got more counter magic, of course, so why not? And you've got the Drop of Honey, and your life total is high enough, so I guess you're just going to allow it. Copy Artifact there at the top for Sepp, so he's going to play out his Triskelion here. And of course, he can also use the Control Magic here. I believe that's a Summer Edition Control Magic, by the way. Kind of surprised not to see an end step mill here by Gordon. I believe he had the opportunity. Or was it tapped still? No, it was tapped still from the Brain Geyser, of course. Anyway, there we see the Control Magic on the Triskelion. In response, Sepp is going to deal 3 here to Gordon. Gordon drops to 12. Or 2 to Gordon, of course, and 1 to the Trike itself to kill it. And now we see a copy Artifact. Is he going to copy the Millstone here? That would be kind of funny. I think he is. We're probably going to see a counterspell, I assume. I mean, you don't want your opponent to have a Millstone when you have Field of Dreams on the battlefield. Exactly. There we're going to see the counterspell by Gordon. Yes, of course, then taking a damage from his own city. He's going to drop to 11. And then he's going to mill 2 on end step. There's an Armageddon at the top. Yeah, not very useful at this point. I mean, I guess you just want to mill it away, right? You don't want to see an Armageddon. Now he's going to draw into a Suchi. Suchi, no problem, of course. You've got Drop of Honey. You've got your Double Maze. And Library of Alexandria now in hand for Gordon. So probably he's just going to try to get to 7 or 8, actually, and then play out the library. No, he's going to do it straight away. Ooh, he's going to tap a lot. He's going to Brain Geyser here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means he's got 7 cards in hand. He can use the Loa next turn. And actually not really good cards that he's found from the Brain Geyser, but who cares? Now he's got an active Loa. And I wonder if he still has a single counterspell in hand there. There's the Strip on one of the mazes. Look at this, attacking with 2, trying to deal some damage. Can only send 1 back. Gonna pump it up, so gonna take 3 points. He's on 8 now. That is actually kind of low. Now do remember, the single Fireball in Sepp's deck is already in the graveyard, which is unfortunate. But he is playing, of course, with 4 Lightning Bolts. We haven't seen a single Lightning Bolt. There's a Millstone. And there's a Trop. And of course, Gordon wants to keep 7 in hand because of that Library of Alexandria, showing that he's got another counterspell. That's it. Look at this. Sepp now picking up the card, saying, okay, there's no way I can win this. And that means we're going to go to an all-decisive game, number 3. Game number 3, the big decider. Who's going to win this Swedish battle? Will it be Gordon or Sepp? And look at this, Sepp taking a mulligan, going down to 6. He's taken a lot of mulligans this game. And I mean, it's an advantage, of course, to start here. You want to be aggressive against these combo decks. You don't want to give Gordon a chance here to stabilize and to get control of the game. Then again, you also know you have to deal with those drops of honey. So if you commit too many creatures to the board, the drop of honey is going to be really, really good. But yeah, Sepp here starting with the Tundra and a Mox Jet, passing the turn here to Gordon. At least I think so. Maybe he wants to play a copy on the Jet. That could be another option, of course. Looking in the hand, I don't believe I see a copy. See a Mind Twist there and a Triskelion for Sepp. Now remember, we are playing with that 50 minutes of time limit. And both players took quite a while to sideboard, to shuffle. And of course, that game 2 took a long time as well. So I wonder if they're going to make it. But yeah, we'll see. So Gordon here drawing his card for turn. Let's see what he can do. Has a Field of Dreams in hand there, it seems. Goes Underground Sea. Mox Jet as well. Is he going to play out that Field of Dreams? He's going to tap a blue at least, I think. Yep, there's the Field of Dreams. So both players again playing with the top card of their deck open. There's the Time Walk. Sarah Angel. There's a Volcanic Island. And I mean, this makes Time Walk a lot better, actually, when you can see what card you're going to draw. And I think this is kind of difficult for Sepp, right? I mean, he's got that Mind Twist. He could Mind Twist for 2. But I mean, you don't really want to do that. You could take an extra turn, but you know you're not going to find another land. You could also play Brain Geyser for 1. Just not a lot of good options for him here. He's got Mind Twist, Brain Geyser, Triskelion in hand, I believe. Yeah, he's going to go for the Time Walk, which is basically a cycle at this point. Then there's that Counterspell at the top. And he is going to twist. Mind Twist for 2. And here we see Gordon shuffling up. And that means we've seen Mind Twists in every single game here, by the way. Losing a Control Magic and a Crumble. The beautiful Summer Magic, Control Magic. Really wanted to keep the Crumble here, it seems, to destroy that Mox Jet. But it's not meant to be. Passing the turn back to Gordon. Finds a basic island. Another basic island on the top. Gonna play out that basic. Gonna tap 2. Are we gonna see the Millstone? There's the Millstone. Okay, so he's assembled the combo. That's, of course, bad news for Sepp here. Now finding the Counterspell, Disenchant at the top. Probably not going to draw that one, though. Probably going to be milled away. Could, of course, go for Brain Geyser here and draw that Disenchant. Exactly. I love this. Going to go for that Brain Geyser here for 1. Finding the Disenchant, then knowing that was at the top. Plateau is the other card here at the top. And this is kind of interesting, right? If you're Gordon, like, do you want to mill away the lands because you know that Sepp's kind of light on lands? Or do you think, you know what, I'm going to focus on the threats? That's, of course, the question. I mean, if you mill away the lands, then he's also not able to end counter and disenchant, right? And what I mean is play disenchant, keep counter magic open. So he could consider milling away the land here. Then again, you never know what that other card's going to be. Look at that graveyard of Sepp, by the way. Really, really good cards in there. Time Walk, Mind Twist, and Brain Geyser. So there's only one card in hand here for Sepp that Gordon knows nothing about. So Gordon really in the tank here. Like, what do I want to do? You know that if he draws into the plateau, he could play a Disenchant and, like I said, keep counter magic open. Then again, if you're going to mill away the 2 cards, you never know what else he's going to draw. And he is going to allow Sepp here to draw the plateau. I think it's really good news for Sepp. There's a Tundra at the top, going to play the plateau. So could disenchant the Millstone here with counter magic backup. He's not going to do it yet though, passing the turn. There we see the mill activation. In response to the activation, I believe we're now going to see the disenchant on the Millstone. And of course, it's still going to mill though, because that's already on the stack. So he's going to lose 2 cards, Tundra and a Felwar Stone. And a red Elemental Blast from the top. So the red Elemental Blast is going to be quite useful to maybe take care of the Field of Dreams if you want to. You could also, of course, keep it for something better. And this is tough for Gordon, right? I mean, he knows if I play the Ancestral Recall, probably going to run into that counterspell. So Gordon has 3 cards in hand. One of those is the Ancestral Recall. And at the top, we see that Mace going to play out a Forest passing the turn. Disenchant here from the top for Sepp. And there's a Tropical Island. Mace of Ith being played out here by Gordon. And also the Disenchant. Yeah, it looks like now Sepp has full control with the counterspell and the red Elemental Blast. Showing here that Gordon has the Drop of Honey in hand. I mean, playing with this first card open makes it so interesting. Like, you know what you have. And even if you're Gordon, even with that counterspell, you know it's going nowhere because of the red Elemental Blast and the counterspell in hand for Sepp. And for Sepp as well, I mean, you don't want to play out your Serra Angel right now. You need to keep counter mana open for the Ancestral Recall and also for the counterspell of Gordon. So yeah, this game is getting like more and more stuck. It feels like you're kind of stuck in the sand, you know, like quicksand, and you're just slowly, very slowly though, you're sinking in more and more and more. It's like concrete hardening, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I got to get out now while I still can, but then again, there's not really a good opportunity for you to. I mean, both players are kind of keeping each other hostage here. Yeah, we see a Demonic Tutor there. That's going to be the next card for Gordon. That could be interesting. There we see the Mishra's Factory being played out. And there's a Divine Offering here being drawn by Sepp. That's going to be followed up by the Copy Artifact next turn. And I mean, the hands are getting pretty full. 7 cards in hand for Sepp, 4 cards in hand for Gordon. There's the pass. I mean, he could consider playing out the Demonic and just see, I mean, is he going to respond to this? Is he going to try to counter it? Then I can counter it, then he can red Elemental Blast, and then at the end of the road, I still have my Ancestral Recall that I can play. And I think that's exactly what Gordon's doing right now, thinking, okay, if I play this, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? And, you know, at the end, when the smoke is cleared, am I then able to play that Ancestral Recall for 3? I think he is going to play the Demonic. He is going to play the Demonic. And now the question is, if you're Sepp, look at that without a doubt, saying, you know what? You do your thing. You go get that card. I can always counter the card if I don't want you to have it. Now, there is, of course, a small chance that if you're Gordon, that you're going to pick up the Library of Alexandria. Kind of going to go for the long run, you know? Thinking the game's going so slow anyway. Might as well pick a Loa because it can be countered. And then kind of go up to 7. It already has 4 cards in hand. So that's an option. The thing is, you can also not really go for the Mishra's Factory strategy here because, you know, Sepp has a Divine Offering and a Disenchant in hand. Another option, of course, could also be a Regrowth. You know, then you think if he counters the Ancestral Recall, I'm just going to Regrowth it and play it again. A Millstone could also be an interesting option. But the problem with Millstone is the same problem as when you animate your factories, that Sepp, of course, has 2 ways to deal with artifacts in his hand. And he's now passing the turn, so I'm not planning to play out the card that he looked up with the Demonic Tutor, at least not right now. I mean, maybe he's looked up a Mind Twist, but Oh, and look at this. The dice is here. The die is here. And that means that these are the last 5 turns. This is what I was afraid of. Like I said, there's a 50-minute limit on these rounds. And now they're at that spot where the 50 minutes have gone. So when the time is done for your match, you get 5 more turns. So this is the first turn. And that die there in the middle is indicating that. So this is turn 1. And when it reaches 5, the match stops. So that means, 3 more turns here for Sepp, including this one. But it's very likely that it will become a draw. Or not yet. Now that we see the dice shift to Gordon, so it means it starts when it's Gordon's turn. Yeah, and especially for Gordon, like Gordon doesn't have the type of deck that can just win it within like 3 turns. And we do see Gordon now deploying the Ancestral Recall. And there's the expected red Elemental Blast. So basically trading those sources. Are we going to see a counterspell on the red Elemental Blast and probably a counterspell from Sepp on that counterspell? We are going to see that. So that means that the card that he's got in hand here, that he can play that out. Ooh, and look at this. He's allowing it. He's saying, I'm not gonna counter that one. And of course, the Field of Dreams is gone, so that's why we no longer see the top cards of the library. There's a factory. So this is the first turn of a total of 5 turns before this match will come to an end. And it's like 99% sure that this will be a draw. I would be very surprised if it doesn't end up in a draw. There we see the Candelabra of Tanis. And I really like this Candelabra of Tanis in this deck because it works so well with Maze of Ith, but also with Mishra's Factory. Like you can attack with the factory, untap your attacking factory, and it can pump itself. It's kind of sick, isn't it? Anyway, here we see the attack. Is he going to do the trick with the Candelabra? He's going to bump it up, make it a 3-3. Oh, I love it. He is going to use the trick. I do like to see this. I'm a big fan of Candelabra. So that's now a 4-4 swinging in. 4 points of damage for Sepp. Or is he going to try to play the Divine Offering here? Yep, he's going to play the Divine Offering. Are we going to see a counter spell? Nope. So that's gone. Passing the turn here. So now we're going to go into turn 2. But it is good to see. It's always cool to see somebody doing cool stuff, And Candelabra of Tanis, untapping your attacking factory to pump it again is what I consider a cool thing to do. And yeah, let's see if you're Sepp. I mean, what can you do? Nothing, right? He's just passing the turn. So we're now at turn number 3. Remember, we stop at 5. So Sepp has 1 more turn after this one, and Gordon has 1 more turn after this one. Yeah, and I think there's very little that both players can do here. Yeah, maybe Gordon can attack again for 2, deal a little bit of damage, pump it extra with the Candelabra of Tanis, Drake, deal 3. But that's it. Okay, here we see the Mind Twist. So probably going to see a counter spell. Ooh, he's going to leave counter magic open. Then you know what's going to happen. And of course, Sepp is going to do the thing. He's going to counter the twist. No, we don't see a counter spell on the counter spell. That's it. Both players shaking hands saying, you know what? You've got this one. So it is a draw here between the 2 Swedish All-Stars. 1-1 here at the Uthden Troll Cup number 6. Now, if you're enjoying this tournament, make sure to keep an eye on the channel because I've got matches for you all the way to the finals. So if you're not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and also leave a like, comment on this video, and share it on your socials if you want to, of course. But it would really be appreciated because YouTube loves that stuff. And talking about love that stuff, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks to find out all the information. And when you become a patron of the show, you may find your name at the end of every single video in the end scroll. What end scroll? This end scroll.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way
just think it is Samba Kazee.